Through the end of September 2025, just 2,540 new condo units broke ground in Toronto. According to Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, that's the lowest number since 1998, a 79% drop compared to last year. But here's what's really happening. The projects that should be delivering homes in 2027 and 2028 needed to start construction in 2024 and 2025. They didn't. And while everyone's calling this a crisis, maybe it's actually the correction Toronto needed all along. Before we dig in, quick thing. About 99.2% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. If you want to stay ahead of what's happening in Toronto's housing market, hit that subscribe button. Let me explain what just broke in the condo market and why this might not be as bad as it sounds. In early 2025, only 45% of Toronto's pre-construction condo units had buyers. Developers need 70% sold before banks release construction financing. Can't hit that number? Projects don't get built. Here's the part nobody talks about. Only 714 new condos sold in the first 10 months of 2025. Toronto typically sees 25,000 to 30,000 sales per year. We're down roughly 90%. According to Urbanation, 14 condo projects were canceled in 2024. That's 2,805 units gone. Between 2020 and 2025, builders abandoned more than 3,200 units across 25 projects. But developers aren't just failing because of poor planning. According to the Building Industry and Land Development Association, fewer than 10 high-rise projects even tried to launch in 2024 or 2025. The numbers don't work anymore. And honestly, part of that is on them. They built this market on speculation, banking on endless investor demand and rising prices. When that stopped, the whole model collapsed. Construction costs have surged 76%, according to the Altus Group. Development charges on a one-bedroom condo went from $8,300 in 2013 to nearly $53,000 today. For a two-bedroom, from $12,000 to $81,000. The Residential Construction Council of Ontario reported that the average Toronto condo now faces $130,200 in total development costs before breaking ground. That's permits, charges, everything. The one tower at Yonge and Bloor shows how bad things got. Developer Sam Mizrahi defaulted on $1.23 billion in loans after total project debt hit $1.7 billion. The building was supposed to finish in 2022. It went into receivership in 2023. Phil Earnshaw paid a $280,000 deposit in 2018 for a two-bedroom unit in a High Par project. Construction started in 2019. By 2023, all work stopped. The project went into receivership. Earnshaw and other buyers are still waiting to get their deposits back. Developers are partly victims of a broken system. But their risk-heavy, speculative approach, counting on flips, investor buyers, and endless price growth, is also why this mess exists. Average condo prices peaked at $790,398 in the first quarter of 2022. By early 2025, they'd fallen to $680,146, a 14% drop. New construction that sold for $1,689 per square foot in 2022 is now going for $1,338. That's a 21% decline. And here's where it gets interesting. A project in Oakville repriced units from $1,100 per square foot to $675. They sold out in one weekend. A downtown builder that launched at $1,600 per square foot is now selling between $1,050 and $1,100. Those price drops? They're not just bad news. For the first time in years, actual buyers who need a place to live can afford to get in. The crash investors feared is the correction buyers needed. Borrowing costs jumped from below 2% to 4% or 5%. Investors who relied on rental income to cover carrying costs found the math broke. When mortgage payments exceed rent, the investment strategy collapses. And that's exactly what happened. Pre-construction sales that were at 94% in early 2022 crashed to 45% by early 2025. Investor confidence evaporated overnight. Toronto has lost an estimated 34,600 construction jobs since late 2023. Unemployment in the construction sector hit 10% earlier this year. David Wilkes from the Building Industry and Land Development Association told Global News, "We're not seeing projects fail. We're not seeing them start. It's just that cost to build has reached a point which is far too high. When projects stall, those workers shift to infrastructure jobs or leave the region. The problem? When demand returns, experienced crews may not be available." More than 27,000 units initially planned as condos switched to rental formats in 2025. Federal incentives made rental projects more viable. But rental conversions don't replace the volume Toronto once had. RBC Economics warned in October 2025 that inventory may need to fall about 25% before pre-construction demand recovers. They're projecting activity might pick up in late 2026 or 2027. But that assumes nothing else goes wrong. Here's the real problem. Condo projects take 3 to 5 years from groundbreaking to completion. The buildings that should be delivering homes in 2027 and 2028 needed to start in 2024 and 2025. They didn't. While more than 24,000 newly constructed units currently sit unsold across the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, those will eventually be absorbed. CMHC data shows about 35,000 units currently under construction will hit the market over the next 2 years. After that, the pipeline goes dry. By 2029, completions could fall to fewer than 3,000 units. Toronto needs 25,000 to 35,000 new homes each year. When supply runs out in 2027 and 2028, prices and rents could spike again, and the construction workforce may not be there to build the solution. Jordan Nowosky, lead economist for the Greater Toronto Area at CMHC, expects condo starts to remain extraordinarily low for years. The market flipped overnight. Buyers who purchased pre-construction units between 2020 and 2022 are closing at mortgage rates triple what they expected. Investors who thought they'd flip units for profit are facing losses of 30% to 40%. But here's what I think. We saw the peak condo market in Toronto when investors were buying so much, driving prices to levels regular people couldn't touch. Lower prices are helping people who can't afford and actually need to buy a condo, not just for investment. Yes, the market is broken. Yes, construction has collapsed. Yes, we're staring down a supply cliff in 2027 and 2028. But for first-time buyers who've been priced out for years, this correction is opening doors that were slammed shut during the investor frenzy. The crash investors feared is the correction buyers needed. And while the recovery won't be quick, maybe that's not entirely a bad thing. If you found this useful and want more housing market breakdowns like this, don't forget to subscribe. 99.2% of you haven't yet. Let's change that. I'll see you in the next one.